Hello, everyone, and welcome to today's Ninja Skill Booster, all about hybrid working. What a topical topic, if that's such a word. What an interesting topic, a relevant topic for what's going on in our ways of working, in our world of working these days. For those of you that don't know me, my name's Matt Cowdroy. I'm the owner of Think Productive Australia. I am a dedicated, self-confessed productivity ninja. I absolutely love what we do at Think Productive globally, helping our clients with their productivity and their stress and their sense of fulfillment in work, because that's so important. So fulfillment in work and fulfillment in life. So once again, thank you everyone for coming along today. I can see a lot of familiar names here in the participant list. And some of you are already starting to use the chat, so I appreciate that. We'll have a bit more interaction as we get into it. Feel free to contact me. There's my email address, matt@thinkproductive.com.au. If you have any questions or want any extra resources after today's short Ninja Skill Booster. For those of you that don't know, Think Productive was founded by Graham Alcott. Graham's from the UK, and he wrote this book, How to Be a Productivity Ninja. I bought this book about 7 years ago, 2014, I think it was, and I loved it so much. I ended up buying Think Productive Australia, New Zealand, and starting the business here, buying the rights to Graham's content. And that's how this all started and how I became a productivity ninja. And this book can change your life. It certainly changed mine. People that have attended our full workshops have also got access to our Productivity Ninja Academy. So some of you will know about that. If you've attended a workshop and haven't got into the Academy, get in touch and let me know. I can always help you get access again. There's a lot of great stuff in there. So today's session is a bit of a combination of content from two of our hybrid working workshops, Leading Hybrid Teams and the Productivity Ninja's Guide to Hybrid Working. So these are two of the workshops we've been running lately in this new world, because the world just keeps changing. We used to run and still can run the Productivity Ninja's Guide to Working from Home, but hybrid working is definitely more of the thing these days. So today's session, I've taken a little bit of content from both of those, because we're thinking about leadership, but we're also thinking about ourselves today, I'm assuming, in terms of how can I handle this new world of hybrid working? How can I make this work for me? So a little activity. I'd love to hear from all of you using the chat box, just as we get into this. What's something you've loved about working from home? Let's start thinking about this. If you could put this in the chat, just make sure your setting on the chat is that it goes to everyone rather than just to hosts and panelists. What's something you've loved about working from home? Thank you. This is great. Yeah, thank you. No commute. That's a big one. Being more present with my kids, more productive, get more achieved, having my dogs around me. Yeah, I like having my dog around me. That's a great one. Working from home, flexibility, more productive flexibility. Good. Look at this. These are all some of the benefits. So I know there's been challenges. We're just staying in the positive at the moment. You can see the next icon on the screen. So a lot of benefits of working from home and hybrid working. So now let's turn the corner, if you like, and get on the other side. What have you missed about the office? So not so much what have you not liked about working from home, but what have you missed about the office? Because you can say nothing if you've missed nothing about the office. But what have you missed about the office? Because there's certain, nothing, Sharon, okay, thank you. There are certain elements of the office that some of us like. Colleagues to bounce ideas off, missing our workmates, being able to switch off from work, yeah, social aspects. That switch off from work is interesting, Renee, isn't it? Because it's nice to be able to leave our work at work. Natural face-to-face conversations, communication with colleagues, brainstorming, face-to-face meetings, the need to send less emails, yes, and therefore receive less emails. That's right, Kristen. Thank you. Bumping into colleagues. Okay, interesting. So that's pretty much what I would have expected. Thank you for your interaction there. Today's session will be dealing with quite a lot of that and dealing with the blend of all of those thoughts. So thanks for sharing those thoughts. By the way, we're only here till 9:30 today, so I've got a lot of content to get through. I'll be going through these 5 top key takeouts for today's session. Now, these are really focused on the Productivity Ninja's Guide to Working from Home content around how can we as individuals be more productive when we're hybrid working? Okay, so as individuals. So before we get into these top 5 points, I wanted to do a bit more broad thinking with us all, because we're a diverse range of people here today with probably different reasons for joining this session. So some of us will be thinking about, how can I lead hybrid teams? Some of us will be in like human resources, learning and development roles, thinking, how can I support the organization around this transition to hybrid working? So before we get into these 5, just some other thoughts. So we've been doing a lot of research with our clients, particularly over the last couple of years with COVID and working from home, hybrid working. The 3 things we do best from the office, and a lot of you have referenced this in the chat there. So we get to be with our colleagues. So when we're in the office, it's really good to be doing the interaction, the connection, the networking, collaboration. This is a big one. Saving those emails that Kristen mentioned there, being able to actually collaborate in real time. This is a gift when we're actually in the office. And meetings, even though meetings can be a struggle, when we're in the office, these face-to-face meetings can be so much more powerful. So it's really good to be thinking, when we do have those 2 or 3 days a week in the office that so many of our clients are talking about, like so many people, it's very common for people at the moment to be saying, we're not going back full time, we're going back 2 or 3 days. So planning our time around these things. And the 3 things we do best remotely: focus, because we're not getting so many distractions. Get more work done, get more of that solo work done. And we need time to be doing that solo work. And better work-life balance. A lot of you mentioned that in the chat. Like, that's a big thing, to be able to do better, to be able to get better work-life balance, less commute time, more time with our families, our pets, these kind of things. So it's about thinking, how am I going to plan my week, my month, my life? And how am I going to plan my work within that? So that when I am spending those days in the office, there's not much point going to the office and doing what we used to do and just sitting at the desk and working, because we can do that at home. So when we're in the office, doing more of this collaborative work. So this is a very complicated looking slide, but we've been doing some thinking on how can we map out this transition of thinking, what should I be doing where? So choosing your outcome. So by starting with your outcome. So I'm just looking at this other screen at the moment. So on the left, what things should be face-to-face, all the way through to what things am I better off doing virtually or at home or from a cafe or from a hotel, this kind of thing. And what it's about thinking is, well, where am I going to be? How can I plan my work around that? Or the other way to think about it is, I've got this particular piece of work to do. What is that work? Is it collaboration? Is it communication? You know, therefore I should be doing it face-to-face. So I need those days in the office. Or if I've got this particular piece of work to do, which is really solo work, deep thinking, lots of thinking, I should be doing that at home. I need some time at home. So yeah, thanks, Kristen. I can share this slide. We actually share a recording of this presentation, but I can actually share a copy of this slide in the follow-up email for you as well. So it's good to be thinking about this. I know it's very detailed, so it's definitely worth sharing this, because it's good to be thinking, what do I need to do? Where do I need to be? Let's make this work for us. So as I mentioned, I'll be sharing those top 5 tips today. This is just to get us thinking broadly at the start of this session. And what if we can't see our people? I've got to make sure I get this statement right, but this is a slide that we have in our Leading Hybrid Teams workshop. And the comment here is, I'm not reading this, I'm trying to remember this. How do I know if they're working when I can't see them? Like, that's what a lot of leaders think. How do I know if they're working if I can't see them? But the thing to think about that is, how do I know if they're working if I can see them? Because in an office, let's assume this office was full of people, they all look busy, they're all doing things, but how do I really know they're working? How do I really know they're achieving the outcomes? I don't, unless I'm measuring it well, unless I'm checking in with the people, unless we've got good, controls and measurements and communication and trust going on. So the point of this is, excuse me for 1 minute. The point of this is, it really doesn't matter where they are, because even if you can see them, we can't really be 100% certain that our people are working. So when leaders are starting to freak out that they can't see their teams anymore, it's the same scenario. This is what I like to reinforce here. It's the same situation. It really does come down to the communication, the check-ins, the celebrations of the wins, all these kind of things. So that's a bit of just sort of broad thinking to get us started with this world of hybrid working. I'm curious if anyone's got any specific comments or questions at this point. Feel free to put it in the chat for us, and we can have a look at that. But what I'll get into now are the top 5 takeouts from today's Ninja Skill Booster. In these Ninja Skill Boosters, we always like to just give you some really practical, tangible things that you can take away. Now, as I say, most of this is around the individual productivity piece more than the team hybrid working piece, but it's very, very translatable across the different styles. So the first one, if we're going to be hybrid working, have a flexible, able to travel toolkit. This is pretty straightforward, but this links to our ninja characteristic of weapon savvy. If we're going to be weapon savvy, it's about psychology before technology. Being weapon savvy is about making sure we've got the tools we need. Do we have a good setup at home for working? And it doesn't need to be perfect, but is it functional? Can we translate that working environment from home to work? If we're the employer or the person who's responsible for helping people with hybrid working, which I know many of you are in your roles, I can see who's on the crew here today. Are we providing the right facilities in the office? So when they come in, they plug in, they've got an extra screen, they've got somewhere to work. So are we helping our staff and ourselves have this toolkit that we can travel with? We need to be able to just transition from place to place seamlessly. The technology needs to work. This is one of my favorite tips around working from home, but it really helps with hybrid working as well. Making sure we bookend our day with a commute. Now, many of you have heard us talk about this before. So this is really when we are working from home, which is part of the hybrid working piece, have a commute, because the commute serves as a really powerful start and end of the day. And someone mentioned that they were missing the commute, I think, or missing the, leaving the work at work, being able to switch off from work. Renee said, yeah, we're missing that because when we're working from home, we're no longer working from home, we're sleeping in the office, right? I do like that little twist on that. So we need to think when we are working from home, what can our commute be? How can we signify to our brain, the people we might be sharing our space with, that our day's starting and our day's ending? So I want you to have a little think here. What could you do when you're working from home to signify that it's the start of the day and it's the end of the day? And there's a whole lot of thoughts, some simple things like going for a walk around the block, walking down the road, getting a coffee. Some people even get in their car, drive around the block, walk the kids to school. Some people get on their bike. If they normally ride their bike to work, they get on their bike and ride their bike around the block, even if they don't feel like going for a big bike ride. Just that idea of getting on the bike at the start and the end of the day. So I'd love you to put some thoughts in the chat so we get some creative ideas of what could be your commute, your fake commute when you're working from home. And it's really important to have this at the end of the day as well, particularly important at the end of the day, because this helps us unwind. This is this bit about being able to leave our work at work. So when we are working from home, we're able to actually switch off, clean the desk, pack things away. Yes. Walk around the block with a podcast, dog walk. Yeah. I really love this idea of packing things away, making sure when we are working from home, say, hi, honey, I'm home. I love that. It's like, hi, my work's finished. Hi, it's the happy me again, or it's the friendly me again. It's the at home me. Hi, honey, I'm home. Yeah, I like that, Alison. So this is good to think about this and make a few notes for yourself on what can you do. What we know is if we plan these things, we have a 3 times success rate. So 300% success rate with new habits if we plan them and if we write them down. So write down what your new commute is. So that's quite a straightforward one, but it makes a big difference, particularly with being able to switch off at the end of the day. Number 3, enclosed cognition. There was a study done where they had people doing a concentration test, a couple of groups. And then they gave one group a scientist's lab coat, and the other group stayed in their casual clothes. They kept doing the test. The group with the scientist lab coat, their scores went up because they're like, oh, I'm feeling smarter now. I've got my scientist lab coat on. So this idea of enclothed cognition is what we wear affects our brain. So if we're just kind of waking up and in our pajamas, turning on the laptop and starting to work, our brain's not engaged, let alone what do people think of us when we're doing a Zoom call or a Teams call. But what's more important about this enclothed cognition point is what it does to our brain. So for me to be talking to you now in this jacket, which as many of you have seen before, this is the jacket I almost always wear when I'm running these online sessions, you know, it puts me in the zone, and this is exactly enclothed cognition. This is what it's all about. So, but the other key point with the enclothed cognition is taking it off at the end of the day, like the commute, getting those clothes off, taking off those work shoes or whatever you were doing, then we're back in that casual mode. Hi, honey, I'm home kind of mode. I love that. So this is this idea of enclothed cognition. And what I do realize is many people in this hybrid working space are now allowed to be comfortable being a lot more casual when they're working from home. It's amazing how many meetings I've had with clients and they turn up in their hoodies and t-shirts and I'm sort of dressed up, and I guess I need to do that. But it's becoming a lot more casual. However, what I recommend is have at least a couple of casual items of clothing that is still your work clothes. So even if it's a couple of t-shirts or something, but it's the same things that you wear for work, and you don't wear those for casual because you've got that difference in your brain. So I'm very passionate about this one because I think it makes a big difference to our brain and our ability to switch off. If there's any questions or thoughts or comments, please feel free to share in the chat. I'm happy for you to share as much as you like in the chat as we go. Boss thinking, number 4. Boss thinking is a ninja superpower that we can use at any time. Boss thinking is this part of our brain that is when we stop, take a step back, take a deep breath and reflect and start to do our planning, our prioritizing, our thinking. Now, there's another part of our brain, which is our worker brain. That's when we go into worker mode and we start actually doing the work. Now, both of these modes are really helpful, but it's a struggle to do them at the same time. So this idea of boss thinking is here to support our worker, because our worker can very easily get overwhelmed, stressed with a big to-do list, stressed with too much to do, not enough time. Boss thinking is when we take that moment to pause and think, let's set some priorities, let's set some plans. Now, where this boss thinking can really help, if I was to go right back to that slide that I'll be sending you a copy of with that spectrum of work, that's boss thinking when we sit down and plan, what do I need to do and where am I going to be? But boss thinking is also, no matter where we are, setting ourselves up for the day ahead. Some boss thinking in the morning this is like a foundational productivity ninja technique that we have in almost every course we do, because it works no matter where we are, no matter what we're doing. Boss thinking at the start of the day. I'll include a copy of this checklist in the follow-up email for you after today's session. The key thing on this checklist is getting 5 things on a post-it note that are your 5 priorities for the day. This keeps us focused, because as crazy stuff happens and we get pulled away, coming back to these 5 priority things keeps us focused for the day, keeps us making progress. And some of you have heard me talk about the to-do list, which is the opposite of the to-do list. Bit of a tangent here, but the to-do list is our little celebration. And if you've got those 5 things there and you've highlighted the things you've completed, I do like to highlight them rather than cross them out. Highlight the things you've completed so you can really clearly see what you've completed. That's your little celebration. That's your to-do list. But the point here I'm making is boss thinking. That's the 4th key takeout for today, boss thinking. Stopping, pausing, reflecting, planning. If we do all this, and then we don't need to spend a lot of time on it, but if we do all that, the work becomes so much easier. Graham, who wrote the book Productivity Ninja, a quote from him is, the more we think about our work, the easier it becomes. The more we think about our work, the easier it becomes. So I think that's a big one. Number 5, going dark. Now, this is another one of these sort of foundational productivity ninja techniques, but it's a little bit different now. because what we used to talk about, and I'm about to share with you kind of what we used to talk about, stealth and camouflage when we're in the office, because offices used to be really distracting places that were often hard to work in. So a little bit different these days, because when we're in the office, we probably want to be doing more of that collaborative work that I was talking about. When we're at home, we want to be thinking about going dark, potentially. And going dark is when we're turning off those distractions, probably even turning the phone off, turning our Outlook offline, setting a timer using the Pomodoro technique that some of you have heard me talk about. This little timer is called Forest. It's a cute little timer for the phone. But the concept here is going dark, using ninja stealth and camouflage, so we get into this focus zone. And we might do this for sprints, half an hour, 1 hour at a time. You might want to do this for half a day if you're really working on a big piece of work. But, you know, for a lot of us, we do still need to be contactable at times throughout the day. So it's not about switching off for the whole day and disappearing, but it's about finding time where we can get some focused work done. So this is this whole idea around going dark. By the way, this tip around Outlook, if you haven't heard me talk about this before, this idea of turning Outlook offline that you can see on the screen here, this is gold. If you use Outlook, if you've got this function, try it. What it does, it puts your Outlook into flight mode, kind of flight mode. So you don't get the new emails coming in. You don't get that distraction coming in. This is honestly, this along with boss thinking, I think are probably the two biggest payback productivity techniques that you can try. So this relates to hybrid working, because when we're working from home, we and our teams often feel this desire to be constantly contactable, or this need, it's not a desire, this need, this commitment, this requirement to be constantly contactable. This is anti-productivity. This is the opposite of productivity. This is making us be busy, contactable. Being connected is not necessarily being productive. So this is where we need to be thinking about this with our different states of working and our hybrid working modes as well. So I hope that helps. Have a look for the work offline button after today's session. It's under the send receive menu. And by the way, there's no work online button. You just press the same button to go back online. Pretty straightforward. So they're the 5 tips, but before we summarize those, one bonus tip for you is take care of you, self-care. A lot of what we do at Think Productive is all around human, not superhero, understanding our humanness, understanding that we're not machines, we're not robots. We really need to be looking after ourselves. One thing I'm convinced with is the more we can top up our energy, the more we can protect our energy, the higher levels of energy we can have, the more productive we are, the more effective we are, the more fulfilled we'll be in our work. These kind of benefits are massive. So it all comes back to water, food, sunlight, movement, chilling out, watching Game of Thrones, watching Netflix, whatever it is, giving yourself time to take care of you. And a big part of taking care of ourselves is sleep. The little phrase I like to share with sleep is resting is investing. Resting is investing in our future self. If you struggle with sleep, have a look at the book, The Sleep Revolution. I'll just put that in the chat. The Sleep Revolution by Ariana Huffington. The Sleep Revolution will give you like really just enough science to convince you of the importance of sleep, whereas some of the books on sleep are very scientific. It'll give you just enough science, but then it'll give you all the really practical ideas around how to get a better night's sleep as well. So you probably didn't expect me to be talking about sleep in a hybrid working ninja skill booster, but this is important because it's holistic. It's the whole picture here. So here are the top 5 tips, the top 5 takeouts that I've just talked about. So quite a lot there to think about, along with the initial slides that I started with, which were around planning our work about where we are, planning our work between that home space and that workspace. So a lot to think about there, and I will share a recording of this with you along with some of those key slides. Please get in touch with me if you have any questions, if you want to talk about any of the, the huge range of workshops that we run. We've been doing so much supporting people through this hybrid working space at the moment, and supporting people with sort of stress and overwhelm, meeting effectiveness, managing emails, all these kind of things. So just get in touch if you need any information on that, or have a look at our website. The final exciting thing I just want to mention is our 6 Weeks to Ninja program. This is a program that we've run a couple of times in 2021, and we've been running it globally this year as well, in UK and Canada and Europe. This 6 Weeks to Ninja program is really good for individuals. So quite often a company will have a team of people, but they don't necessarily want to train the whole team. They just want to train a couple of individuals. So our next 6 Weeks to Ninja program starts in January. I've got the link here for this as well, just to help you find this easily. I will share the link in a minute. It's a 2-hour-a-week program where people join online. It makes it really accessible. It's a really deep program because it's 12 hours of training in total, but there's a lot of discussion, there's a lot of group interaction, there's a lot of support that you can get from others in the group as well. So I'm just going to put this in the chat for you. And I really want to thank you all for coming along today. The idea of these Ninja Skill Boosters is giving a bit of inspiration, motivation, reminder for people that have done our workshops before. So thank you once again for coming along, and please get in touch with me if you have any questions. And I'm going to stop the recording, and very happy to talk to anyone who wants to stay online and have a chat or ask any questions. I hope to connect with all of you soon. Thanks again. Thanks for coming. Any questions or anything? Thank you, everyone. Thank you for your lovely comments. Yes, happy Friday. I'm looking for the record button here. Happy Friday to you all.